Creating character identification. When an audience relates strongly to a film, they are identifying some aspect of themselves with the characters they see on screen. Include as many of the following character identification techniques as possible when creating each of your characters. And usually character identification takes place at the beginning of the story, because you really need to get people to care about your characters, and then you send them into Act 2 and they meet all this conflict and obstacles, and there's a lot of danger in Act 2 and conflict. And you really set up the character identification right away in the story. You just have to lay in as many of these techniques as you can. A man is fortunate if he encounters living examples of vice as well as virtue to inspire him. The first thing you want your character to have is likability. Now, the character is likable in a friendly or amusing way. This is not a popularity contest, it's more endearing in some way. Likable characters tend to be polite, they're not rude, they're positive, they have a lot of energy. They're people you'd like to invite to your barbecue. The second one is admirable. The character is really good at something we can admire. So this could be their profession, maybe they're a champion golfer, or they're really good at something that you can admire. Maybe they're a really good parent. They have something going on that's admirable. Another one is similar opinions or desires. You relate to their point of view in the world and what they want. This means like, oh yeah, I want that too. Yeah, I understand where this character's going. Or even if you don't want the same thing, you've wanted something similar, so you relate to that. Flaws. You want to add as many flaws as possible to characters, usually. You don't have to have like characters that are completely flawed, but some stories do, and it works really well. But flaws, any kind of imperfection, physical, emotional, spiritual, psychological, or personality flaws. You can add any of those types. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Superhero stories are especially good for ideas using animation and digital video special effects. How can one or all of your characters do something really amazing? Or have a superhero special talent or ability that we've never seen before? Your protagonist could be a lone superhero or be part of a group of specialized superheroes with a common purpose. Maybe they run really fast or can see through things. Try to think of things you've already heard about, people that can bend spoons with their mind or something, and then take it to the next level. So this is already a human ability that is taken to an extreme. Or you could create a whole new one, but it seems to work better if it's something you can grab onto there. Or they have body parts that can turn into spaceships, so that's great if you know 3D animation. But you can do it with 2D animation too, where you have little spaceship parts come out, especially with photo collage techniques. You must also balance all superhero qualities with equal vulnerabilities, such as what Kryptonite does to Superman. What original visual superhero qualities could you create that are perfect for modern digital effects and animation? Without heroes, we are all plain people and do not know how far we can go. Another character identification technique to use with your characters in Act 1 is visual appeal. Great actors have what's known as screen presence, meaning that you cannot take your eyes off of them when they walk into the frame. When Elizabeth Taylor walks onto the screen, you watch her above all else. There's just something about her, it's very magnetic. Visual appeal is often thought of as sex appeal. Jack Nicholson may not be the most handsome man in the world, but he has great sex appeal. You want to attach an actor to give that sense of screen presence to the character that helps you to see them better. A Brad Pitt hippie guy is much different and softer than a Clint Eastwood version. If you had two hippie characters played by those actors, you would have a completely different visual appeal and sexual appeal. You also want to introduce your main character as soon as possible to help the audience identify with this character. Make it clear right away who the main character is and introduce them right away. Have you ever watched a film where you see this main character at the first couple minutes and you get attached to that character and then they kill it? Or it goes away and there's this other character that's the main character and you feel kind of like tricked and you don't get as into that character as quickly as you did the first one because now you're on edge on that. And you can use that sometimes to create suspense, but you really have to do it consciously and have mastered these techniques enough to be able to handle that in a way where the audience isn't going to be put off by it. Another thing you want to do is sympathy. You want your characters to be in a situation where the audience really feels where the character is at emotionally and empathizes with them. The character is having a hard time, he's having they're having bad luck, they're having a bad day, they're in pain, they just lost everything, someone died, or they're involved in some really unjust situation. So you sympathize with the character. You're like, wow, I've had similar bad days, or things have happened, so you can get into that. People identify with sympathy. And you want to place them in jeopardy. First, you get the audience to care about your characters and identify with them, and then you make them suffer by placing them in emotional, physical, or spiritually dangerous situations. The audience loves to worry about characters if they relate to them. So that's basically starts happening in Act 2, but you can place them in jeopardy at the beginning too. Familiar settings or situations. What types of places or situations can you put your character in that is once again both universal and unique? A family dinner table is a universal yet unique situation where everyone relates to that. Everyone's sat down at dinner and have dealt with that dynamic. The first day of school or a job situation. You also want to make sure your characters are empowered, that you have active characters that make decisions to do something. Characters with no power to change their situations are really hard to watch, and they're boring and frustrating. So you want them to be able to do things. Underdogs. Place your characters in ordinary lives that are called upon to do great things against all odds of succeeding. Give your characters normal, boring jobs, or place them in situations where they're underdog. They're not expected to win. They're sort of the person that's not going to make it. Give them a good sense of humor. You want them to be funny, they tell jokes, they're always laughing, they're joking around. You know how you like being around people that are always funny? Just everything they say makes you laugh, or you know that they're eventually going to say something pretty funny, and then you're around people who never tell jokes and they're not as fun to hang out with. So you want characters that are witty and funny and playful, they do entertaining things, or they're clever. That's especially important in comedy, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Have your characters help other people. The character goes out of their way to assist other people or animals. Avoid cliche helping actions. Do not be sappy about this. Don't have them giving food to homeless people, and maybe something a little bit more subtle, like they play chess every Sunday with a bag lady that's they're friends with. You want loyal characters. Make your characters stick by the people in the story and their lives. People relate to loyal characters. If your character's kind of shifty and sort of saying they're going to do one thing and they go do something else, people aren't going to like them as much, so they're not going to trust them. Have your characters really love themselves. Create characters that really bubble with great enjoyment for who they are in a fresh way without being annoying. So these are characters that just have this zest for life, just sort of overflowing with this. You may want to think about creating characters that are kid-like. Show them being fun and playful. So they kind of a little bit different than good sense of humor or funny. This is more, they're just kind of playful. They like to, not like super serious. Intelligent and wise. Have them say really wise and intelligent things occasionally. Give your characters a unique perspective on life or a unique reality construction. Have them define their own reality and impose it on their view of the world. The feature film Amelie did this really well. She was kind of in her own little world, and we saw that, and the whole film was basically about her own little world, which was fascinating. Characters who love children, family, or pets. This makes us like them more. Have them smile at kids, joke with old men in elevators, call their mother, and stop to pet dogs. Characters that are self-made people. Now, if you've ever watched a film with a really wealthy character or someone that's had everything handed to them and they have like all this really nice stuff and money, it's a lot more difficult for people who aren't from that background to relate to them, and it's a put off. But if you show how they came from nothing and made something of their lives by solving their own problems, people will relate to those characters better. Give them a big heart. Make them warm, friendly, and generous people. They're always willing to help and give, and they're not like selfish, kind of self-centered people. Outcast. Put them on the fringe of some world as an outsider. This character could be carving a metaphorical object out of a redwood tree while talking to another character playing with a beloved pet. So that's how you could get the audience to care about both of those characters.